Well, this is it, folks. It's the big one, House of the Dragon. So, I started doing all of this right after Game of Thrones ended, which means I never really got to talk about Thrones on the channel. And I had a lot of thoughts on the final season, none of them really positive. Nothing positive to say. I kind of lost interest in the property, and I could feel like the general consciousness doing that too. You know, where it suddenly stopped being like the cultural talking point and started just being like, oh, you remember that? Yeah, it kind of just fizzled away very fast. We had a couple of years of Thrones content. Nobody was talking about missing it either, which is the interesting part to me. And then, House of the Dragon comes out. The first episode breaks records on HBO Max, HBO, the #1 streamed show, not ever, but it's one of the biggest things to ever release. And you have to imagine, oh, I was wrong. Twitter was wrong. The people who is in the sphere as me were all just like, oh, I guess the general public didn't care about the hiatus or didn't really care about the ending. They're like, we got it. We can watch the next one. Which is fascinating to me, because sometimes when you do what I do here and you're in the bubble for so long, you forget the people outside of the bubble aren't as invested as you. So like, oh, another Game of Thrones show set in the past? Okay, that's interesting. And they'll watch it, and it turns out everybody watched this show. So, the first season of House of the Dragon. This is the story of the Targaryens leading up to the Dance of the Dragons, which is like the big event that kills them all. Essentially, from what I heard, Martin has been like, you need 4 seasons to properly get the full picture of this story. We're following like a lineage expanding, more time passing than what we've seen in the first Throne season, which I understand completely. It's a really interesting choice to make in your show where it's like we're going to recast people almost 3 times throughout the 10 episodes. Like we're moving 20 years ahead of time. It's a choice that I understand, and one that, it's not that it's jarring, but I just think like, oof, I would like to spend a little more time in these periods, even just to get like the minute stuff, but I guess if it doesn't matter, and this is the story they've always been trying to tell, okay, I'm for it. And Benioff and Weiss are not attached to this, so there's some more confidence brought up into this. This is a good show. And the thing is, like, it came out the same time as The Rings of Power, and I don't want to compare the two. I do like this more than The Rings of Power, but I like the message of The Rings of Power more, if that makes sense. I think Lord of the Rings is better at doing, like, the black and white, here's the villains, here's the heroes, here's what's gonna do and win in the end. And I like that kind of story a lot. I think Rings of Power is great, and I don't want to compare the two. The thing to me with liking House of the Dragon a little bit more is, one, I was there very early on in the Game of Thrones bubble. Like, I was a part of that world. I was talking to people about it. I saw the experiences. I was there. Never could get into Tolkien too much. And the other thing, too, is just, I like this type of fantasy world a little bit more, where it's just like the personal nature and not the world-ending stakes, where it's like, here's just a fucked up family and all of their problems leading into each other. I like that. That's the kind of story I like. And I can't say I hated this show. It is well made. It has a great budget. I think coming off of like all of Thrones, getting the budget to make the dragons look big, the sets look bigger, you see where the money is going. They know how to flesh this out a little bit more, expand it a little bit more, show you the history a little bit more so things look bigger and better. I think it's doing a great job of doing that. I do like some of the cinematography choices. There are a few moments where episodes are dimly lit, but of course you can adjust the brightness on your television. People forget to do that. It's still weird that they do like all the dark grays and stuff. That doesn't look great, but certain camera angles are great throughout episodes. Certain moments look great throughout episodes. Overall, I like the way the show looks. It looks exactly the same as Thrones, just a little slightly different in terms of like the aesthetic, which is very important, where it doesn't look like it's younger or older in any way. It's just, here is something slightly adjacent to what you've seen before. Things are a little more clean, things are a little more shiny, things are a little bit better, nicer. It's very compelling in that way, and I do like to see that. It just makes for some really good television. When you could take like the gritty nature of Thrones and kind of just clean it up a bit and just show you like some better politic, that's kind of fun. I don't know which one I like more, probably Thrones at this point because I'm just so inversed in that world at the moment. But this show, I think, did something so impressive. And I've talked about this a few times in other places, and it really makes you understand every character's motivation clearly. There are some who are just built to be the villain, and that's okay, but you really get like the sense that none of these people are truly evil. None of them are truly bad. They are just motivated by different things. They come at each other for different things. They have different relationships, different connections. I really enjoy that. When you can get like, there's at least, I don't want to say 20, maybe like 12 to 15 named characters in this show that play either minor roles, major roles. When you can have all of them on screen, feel their motivations and how they expanded or declined in 20 years of storytelling, in 20 years of their lives. That is very impressive. The fact that you can walk away from this show and every character is like, oh yes, that makes sense from what they did here to go there, and this the years where they come up in this part. I think that is incredible. It's hard to do, and you really get a sense that the showrunners of this season understand how to balance that perfectly. It is an expansive show. It only gets bigger as it goes along, and I think that's kind of fun. Another thing too, it's not like it breaks the mold or changes the Game of Thrones format. There was only like a few moments where you could really feel they were trying to do something new in the Thrones world. To me, one of the big examples of that was Crab Feeder, which is just my favorite name for a character ever. Just this weird, broken person who can kill you on the shores, and these crabs that follow it just eat your corpse away. I'm like, that is doing something new and taking a new approach to a character that's not just big dragon, here's something else to fight. Like, I enjoy that a lot. That was a really fun, and where that storyline went, I very much enjoyed. And to me, there was one weak moment of this show, if you will, that I didn't enjoy. Well, there's two things I should say. The two things that didn't work for me. One, the reuse of the theme song. If you want to, I understand like using that as the core for like a Thrones expansive world, but you don't play the Avengers theme when Shang-Chi comes on, you know? You have to have your own magic being built. I wish they did something like that. The other thing I didn't really like was just like, here's the Song of Ice and Fire, you know? Here's what Aegon said about the First Man. Here's the storyline we're going to see expanded, and here's where the other show ends. Here's the Aegon there, and here's like the Great Winter there. And I'm like, that's something you don't need to tell us. But I understand, again, how a casual fan would be like, hey, yeah, that's what they referenced in the final season. Hey, that's what that did there. It's unnecessary. But if you are somebody who is just watching this and you need a little bit of a hint like, oh yeah, I know the name Lannister, I know the name Stark and the name Baratheon, I know all those names, I guess that works. Like that's something that could make you smile. I always get a little distant when these types of epics and these type of stories consistently want to go back to do a prequel. Because why can't we just tell the story further? You know, can't we just go in the future a little bit more? But this show, I guess it does have a narrative, and George R.R. Martin did have a story to tell here. Anything to not finish the Winds of Winter, I guess, is what he's at in his life. I'll support that. You do you, boo. If you don't want to finish the book, don't finish it. We'll all move on with our lives collectively. So everything looked good. It was well written. Some beautiful dialogue and monologues were given, and I always love to see that. Every character was fleshed out perfectly. Every choice made was very well done. And I have to say, there was not an actor I hated. Now, some of them have multiple actors playing them. The lead characters of this show, essentially, are Rhaenyra and Alicent. These two women who are clearly in love with each other when they are younger, and they start to grow apart as they get older, and they're kind of like it's like the war, I think it's like the House of Green, the House of Black, like those wars going after each other. They're great. The younger version of those characters, absolutely fantastic. You just know Millie Alcock is going to be getting a lot more work wherever she can find it. She did fantastic. And then as they grow up halfway through the season, you have Emma Darcy playing Rhaenyra, which surprised me so much because, again, I didn't really look up the cast for this when it came out. Olivia Cooke as Alicent? I'm like, oh man, I only know you from Ready Player One, and I guess now you're here, which is a big upgrade. They are both fantastic. All four of those actresses playing those two roles, oof, I love them all. Fantastic. And yes, I'm the right type of gay for like the Negroni Spagliato of Prosecco on it. Lovely. Lovely. Fantastic. Just, they have great chemistry off screen, great chemistry on screen. You just want to see them together. It's beautiful and fun. That dynamic is amazing because the Queen Alicent, is clearly doing this one story where you're just trying to see this woman keep control of this thing that she thinks she's earned because her best friend was just given everything. She just earned the title just for being there. She never really had to struggle with hardships in finding love and finding a partner and getting her title, where Alicent had to earn it. And you see her in there like, I didn't earn this, but everyone wants to take it away from me because of who I am and who I love. That's not fair to me. And I'm like, you're right. Both of you have compelling arguments against each other. That's really great. And there are some standouts in there. Matt Smith, always getting a shot to do one of these things, coming off of the high that was Morbius. He's finally given a chance to maybe shine in something franchisable outside of Doctor Who. Fantastic. How he looks the same after 20 years in story, I don't know, and I don't care. Just great to see him. Rhys Ifans doing Otto Hightower is fun. I like seeing a good character actor show up, and that's the thing you got to do, and that he looks fantastic. He did great. But Paddy Considine doing Viserys, oh my goodness. My highlight character, which has two characters, which I'm going to get to in a minute here. Paddy just did something so compelling, which was just play against type till the very end of his character as the king. Everyone expects him to be this one ruler, but he is so in love with his wife and with his daughter and protecting that legacy and that name. He'll make choices that make people uncomfortable. And his last couple of episodes, magnificent. Just magnificent. Given the chance to do some beautiful story and some beautiful stuff. But the two characters that I really liked, I don't want to say the most, but I liked where that storyline went because that is the kind of thing I want to see, is Rhaena and Corlys Valerian? Yes, they are Valerian. It's like, again, a lot of characters. I'm still getting back to the world. They're the Valerians. I love that side of the world. I love the idea of like Driftmark and all that, and just having them build their empire in a different way than what we normally get to see in this world, and having them kind of be like the faces of like opposing what the old regime is. It's really cool. Just the basic concept that Rhaena should have been the heir, but because she's a woman, and now there's two women vying for the throne in the generation succeeding her. Oh, that is the stuff I'm here for. That is the stuff I love to see. That is the stuff I am chomping at the bits to get a part of. And then you have a lot of just really shitty kids showing up. I love it. I don't know the names of all the kids, but you had for a brief second David Tennant's son show up to play Aegon for a minute. And I gotta say, the kid who plays the oldest iteration of Aemond, the one with the eye patch, that kid is going places. Like that, his face is just so peculiar and edged, and you see he's supposed to be like 15 years old, but dude, he could play anything from 20 onwards. It's just a rigid, gorgeous face. You just want to bite his chin. I love it. He's going to be a great actor doing some great stuff later, and that's the thing. Everyone is fantastic in the show. The kids are all great. Kristen Cole, which is a character that I started to like at the beginning, hated him in the end. That's awesome. The fact you can shift a character like that is really cool. This show hit all of the right beats, and that is really impressive to see with something like this. You have a perfect cast come together, you have perfect stories come together, everything found its beat perfectly. I was on the edge of my seat for a lot of it. There was some good dialogue being presented. When you can just tell a good story, and this is the thing we don't see a lot of in these kind of fantasy things anymore, is just sticking true to the time with the dialogue and having jokes set for the dialogue and having characters act like they're in the time period. It makes for great television, and when you can have some beautiful dragons show up, okay, I'm all for it. I really dug this show. I think it worked on every conceivable level. I'm not going to say it's my favorite show of the year. I'm not going to say it's the best Thrones thing we've ever seen. But to start us off in a new era of Thrones content, if we are to get a million more spin-offs from a show like this, or just different time periods, telling a story about this dysfunctional family is a smart way to do it. And it works for me. I'm enjoying it. You're enjoying it. It's in. We all love it. It's perfect. I think it's good. So, House of the Dragon, season number 1, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.